items or one news item, and then have recap of the Georgia game, and then on to Florida. But officially, Dylan Bates, last night we got final word through the MRI and the doctors that he has torn his labrum, so he has a labrum tear. So he'll undergo surgery. He'll miss the rest of the season. We'll apply for red shirt, which should go through, and then we'll have him back for spring football. So that's the one news item. Moving forward, or going backwards rather, on the Georgia game, and quick put that to rest, and then move on to Florida. It's critical plays at critical stages of the game, and we talk about impactful plays and being able to impact the game. And it's our players understanding that, and you can't have catastrophic mistakes. And we had 2 turnovers, and both were catastrophic. One obviously gives them 7 points. The other, we're in scoring range, at least takes 3 points off the board, possibly 7. The game is a tight game at that stage of the game. It gives you an opportunity to seize momentum in the game, and we weren't able to do that. And our players right now, we're learning how to win football games, and we're learning how to win. And that's one of the most difficult, one of the most challenging things that come about with the evolution of a football team, is understanding how to close games out. How do you win games, particularly on the road? And so, again, we'll go back to that process of really, really learning how to win. For instance, our defense does a great job. Todd Gurley, who's a great, great football player, after 3 quarters has 79 yards rushing the football. And then in the 4th quarter, he has 129. And again, that's closing games out. And we have to learn that. But when we talk about impactful plays, everyone, the amateurs just want to look at the stat page and say, well, he was this for this, or he had this many tackles. That's not impacting the game. We judge hits. How many hits? Hits on the opponent, hits on the quarterback, hits on the running back. But impactful plays can be an interception. It can be a ball disruption. It can be a tip football. It can be a strip. It can be a tackle for a loss. It can be affecting the quarterback, getting in his throwing lane, making him flush the pocket. It's forced penalties. To me, the mark of a great defensive line are forced penalties. How many penalties do you force? How many holding penalties? If I'm a defensive tackle, I take great pride in forcing holding penalties. How many penalties do we force? On offense, it's a convoy block of leading the back down the field. We call about it getting a body and a body. Those are the things that we'll continue to review with our football team, and we call those defensively, we call those swarm points. Offensively, we call those fast and furious points. And then obviously our VOA and everything that we do on special teams. So we chart all that and we review that. And it's our players understanding how can you impact the game. I thought we didn't capitalize on field position. There was 5 times that we started on the minus 40 or better. And we were only 2 out of 5 in terms of scoring points. And you can't do that. When you get great field position, again, it's a game of momentum. You must capitalize on that. And I didn't think, that we were able to capitalize on that. But also a lot of positive things in moving forward. Again, very good on 3rd down defense. I believe we limit them to 1 out of 10 on 3rd down conversions. I think this team continues to grow up, continues to mature. We didn't have the luxury or the background of having a lot of these players in live situations. So we're finding more and more out about our personnel as the season continues to progress. We're finding out more about our team makeup, our team chemistry, how we handle adversity, how we persevere. And this group is getting better. Again, a tremendous challenge this week. A very, very talented Florida football team coming in here. If you start off with, you look at them defensively, we believe they have 2 of the best players in the country at their respective positions. They may be the best in the country. When you look at the corner, Hargraves, and you look at defensive tackle, defensive end, Fowler, and they even put him in man-to-man coverage on a slot. That's how athletic he is. These individuals can disrupt the game. They can take the game over. They're very, very explosive defensively. They run to the football. Offensively, again, you're going to hear the word explosive again. They have great balance. They're averaging a little over 460 yards per game, 41 points per game, and great balance between run and pass. Driscoll's a dual threat. We fully anticipate a lot of design quarterback runs in our game. They have great speed with Robinson and Dunbar out on the perimeter. Matt Jones is a very, very good running back, very physical, downhill running back, and great offensive tackles. Very, very good offensive line. So as talented as any team we faced all year. And so, again, it's going to take a great effort. We have to get back to work to continue to improve our deficiencies. I thought our special teams took a step forward. Aaron Medley, I believe, was a 46-yard field goal, which was great to see on the road. I thought Matt Darr took tremendous strides in moving forward with his hang time and the distances of his punt. So I thought we took great strides there. There was a number of times where, in particular instances, our punt team had 8 first and second year players, and I believe 6 true freshmen on our punt team at one time or another, running down to cover a kick. So again, we continue to improve in special teams, but again, we'll be challenged this week with a very fast and very physical Florida football team. So I'll answer any questions you may have.
Coach, after watching the tape, what do you see progressing, or how do you see your offensive line progressing from last week, or from Oklahoma to?
A work in progress. And again, I think sometimes our lack of strength shows just because of our youth. They haven't been in a full-time strength and conditioning program. I think some of the line calls, a couple sacks were basically communicative mistakes where we didn't identify the front properly. And so I think some of those obviously are correctable, but I see them gaining confidence, and it's going to be a work in progress. It's going to be ongoing as the season continues to go on. You look at these kids, they've only played in 4 games together, and some of them only 2 games together. So it's kind of right where we thought it would be, but I do see progress every day.
Which is Justin Worley getting quicker at not only reading a defense, but in just getting rid of the ball?
He's been very aggressive and very confident, and he has. His decision-making process has been great. He knows where he's going with the football. There was one instance, one throw we'd like to have back where they brought a corner blitz. We had the perfect play call. We have a pass in the flat, and he didn't control the defense with his eyes, but he has. He's making great decisions. He's making split-second decisions. But again, you go back to impactful plays. We do a great job when we come away with 3 points on the first drive of the game, but yet we had a wide-open receiver on a 15-yard dig to Alton Howard that may score or get us down to the 6-yard line. Now you're talking 7 points as opposed to 3 points, and it happens in the first possession of the game, so maybe you don't think of it as one of those 2 to 3 to 4 plays that make a difference between winning and losing. But, those are probably one of the two instances I brought up that Justin would like to have back, but I like his aggressiveness. We talked to our football team about being assertive in their decision-making process, and I think he's been exceptionally assertive in what he's been able to do.
How was he feeling coming back?
He's fine. It's kind of hit his funny bone and all that, but he's fine. He'll be 100% for the game.
What's the status on Von Pearson and Josh Smith for Saturday?
We'll see right now. Von Pearson is a little bit ahead of schedule. He's ahead of Josh Smith at this particular time. I'll know more later in the week. It'll be ongoing. We put them, the last couple of weeks, we put them in protective cast just to make sure they didn't tweak it or all that. Now they're heavy into their rehabilitation. And so I'll know a little bit more as the week progresses. But right now, I would say Von is ahead of Josh in terms of recovery.
Last year you had a close loss to Georgia and bounced back in Big South Carolina. Another close loss to Georgia. Are you pretty confident this team will bounce back?
Well, you're talking about a totally different football team. Half of our football team wasn't here, so they don't have that experience to rely on. All I know is about this football team, we have great competitive character. It's very important to them. And again, now it's all new to them. How do we bounce back after an extremely, extremely physical football game? That was 2 football teams laying it on the line Saturday afternoon. And I was exceptionally proud of our effort. We still need to continue to get better with that, though. But, our kids fought to the bitter end, and you can see the resiliency, you can see the perseverance. But, again, every week is a new season in and of itself. And again, it's a new week, it's a new opportunity. I expect them to bounce back. I expect them to be ready to go, both mentally and physically.
I apologize.
No.
You said that you had more than 40 texts from former players. How do you share those with the team, and how do you use those to help improve the program?
I do. And our former players have been extremely supportive, and they understand what's going on here at Tennessee. They understand the work that needs to be done. They understand the work that has already been done. And they're proud of their alma mater. And to have Peyton Manning come and be on our sideline, be in the locker room, giving of his bye week, his only bye week, to be able to do that and spend time with our players. They understand where this football program is headed, and I know they're extremely encouraged, and they're excited the progress that we're making. And, they understand, too, we have a long ways to go. But, you look at the tweets of our former players, they're excited about recruiting, and why wouldn't a prospective student-athlete want to come here? Why wouldn't they? The fan base, the vision, where this football program is headed, it's a matter of time. And that's when I said in my press conference before, we're going to be a good football team. We're going to be a good football program, and we're going to win a lot of games around here. The only variable is time, but we're going to do it right, and we're making progress. Again, now we have to make progress this week versus an extremely talented football team.
Coach, you talked about a lot of the freshmen on your special teams unit. Is it easy to maybe sell some of those guys on playing those special teams units when maybe they're not getting as much time on defense?
Yeah, but it's a challenge. There's a lot of technique. It's the exact same as playing offense and defense. You got to understand schemes, you got to understand technique, and you have to be able to run. And we all know we were extremely deficient last year in terms of team speed, and it really showed on special teams, particularly in the big games. And Florida's going to challenge us with their team speed. But it's just as hard to perform on special teams, and it may be a little bit harder because you're talking about a space game. The hardest thing to do is to drop 20 to 25 yards on kickoff return and block an individual who's had a 20-yard running head start. To be able to flip the power and come to base and block an individual coming down. The special teams is a space game. So it's a great challenge, but Cortez McDowell is an individual who's really stepped up, providing valuable reps for us in special teams, and he's an individual who didn't play very much to start the season. Now his role continues to expand because he's building confidence in himself. He's building confidence amongst his peers and confidence from the coaching staff. Evan Berry's another individual, who's continuing to develop, and you see his role continuing to be elevated on special teams as well.
Push on the onside kick against Georgia. What did you want to happen?
Gosh, we had it. We had it. Coach Stripling did a great job of scheming it up, and we overloaded to one side, and we had a +2 man advantage. And unfortunately, the kick didn't go our way, and then, we were forced to have one of our players hold the football, which should not have occurred. We were forced to.
Why were you forced to?
That's what we were told, but still, even with being forced to have an individual hold the ball, we still had numbers, and we didn't execute it. It was there, and that was one of the thought process. Do you kick the ball deep and want to generate a 3 and out, and you're playing field position? But I thought when you onside kick it, it gives you twice the amount to come up with the football. We didn't get the football, unfortunately. They recovered, but now it's up to our defense to force a 3 and out, still force them to punt the football. And again, we weren't able to close that situation out, and we need to do that and able to win football games on the road.
Did you kick it to the correct side?
Yes, we had a +2 man advantage, and we just didn't get the proper bounce or the proper landmark.
But loss aside, do you think your team benefited from playing a team as good as Oklahoma on its home field in that environment? going into the SEC season?
Well, everything is about learning experiences, and we play the games to win. That's the standard and the expectation. I don't believe in moral victories, but I do think that some confidence was born. I do think having to go on the road and play a talented football team like Oklahoma on their home field, prime time, national television, 7 o'clock game, I do think that benefited, just like going on the road and playing Georgia. Like we spoke about, I believe 13 players actually played in that game from 2 years ago. So they're learning as they continue the season continues to progress. But I do think some benefit has occurred.
Talked about trying to get Jalen Hurts some more help with the rushing attack. What's Marlon's health situation like, and how's Scott coming along?
You know, Marlon continues to progress. He hurt his shoulder a little bit, but he's back full strength now. And it's just, we have some certain plays for Jalen, and, we believe he's one of those players that can make you right when you're wrong. You look at Todd Gurley, you look at yards after contact, you look at some of the yards that Gurley's able to generate on his own, and for us to be successful, if the play's blocked for 7, we can't just have 7 yards. We need to get 9, 10, 11, 12. And Marlon will continue to get better at that. And, he hasn't had very many opportunities with that, but he works exceptionally hard, and we're going to need him down the stretch. This is a physical football league, and you can't just make it through the season with 1 or 2 running backs. And Darrell Scott will be an individual where his volume of work will continue to grow as well. Having him involved in the offense, having him involved in certain plays will continue to expand as well. So we need running backs, and that's a point of emphasis in our football program. And, the mark of a great running back is durability. And as we all know, this is a physical game and a physical conference.
Coach, how many yards after contact did Jalen have?
He had about 48, which he's doing a great job. And there was one game where everyone stopped the play, thought the play was over, and he gained about 12 yards after that.
Can you signal for a fair catch? Even if you don't catch it, can you be hit?
You're not supposed to be hit after you signal for a fair catch, no. And you're not supposed to be able to advance the ball after you signal for a fair catch as well.
Which did you reach out for clarification on that ruling to the SEC office?
We always are in, dialogue and, communication with the office. And, that's pretty much standard protocol for all the coaches and in our conference and in every conference. So we do have, dialogue. We do reach out. We do submit grades. And our conference office does a great job. They respond right away. They're always accessible to you. So they do a great job in that manner.
Did they give you any clarification? Did they say?
They did. I'm not going to comment it on, in this type of forum, but we did get word with everything, right, wrong, or indifferent, and they do a great job with that. But I'm not going to comment on the right or wrong. Did 1 or 2 plays like that cost us the football game? Absolutely not. We don't get the onside kick. We have to force a 3 and out, force them to punt the football, and we weren't able to do that.
Which do you have what do you tell your players in terms of celebrating a touchdown? Gurley got a call, worked to your guys' advantage, but it didn't seem like he did a lot. There seems to be inconsistency about that call. I'm just wondering, what do you tell your guys not to do when you score a touchdown?
Well, every time we score, we have in our football program called the score standard, and we actually talk about it, we practice it, and when an individual scores a touchdown for Tennessee, we all look the same, and we hand the ball to the official. And a lot of times, an individual will score, and it may be, all other 10 guys doing their job. It may be where one running back runs the ball all the way down to the 1-yard line, and the next running back comes in and he scores unimpeded, and, he does all those things. So I can't comment on other programs, but in our program, we have what's called the score standard. And, the excitement is part of the game, getting excited when you score. And have we followed the score standard, the protocol? No, we haven't, but emotion is part of it. Getting excited is part of it. But we do have that in place in our program that we talk about that all the time.
You talk about defending a mobile quarterback like Jeff.
Great challenge. So much when you add, a running quarterback to your scheme, a lot of times you're a gap short defensively, or they have an extra hat in the run game, whether it's by a lead blocker. In the ability to extend plays, that's kind of the theme all throughout the course of football, not just at the collegiate level, but at the professional level as well. So Driscoll presents a whole nother dynamic, to our defense, and we saw that in Arkansas State, with Kitchens. He presented a whole nother dynamic. Driscoll can throw the football. There's a reason why he was the #1 recruited quarterback in the country. I've been impressed with his play. As a coaching staff, they're playing to his strengths. They're very well coached. So again, I think it shows. It's, in the statistics, I think it shows in the productivity that they're having as an overall offense.
Coach, I guess, is it the goal to redshirt Josh Dobbs if you can, basically if Justin's...
Well, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. In a perfect world, yes. But, Josh is prepared to play each and every week. And as we've come to know around here, you're 1 snap away. And sometimes you're 2 snaps away. So he gets valuable reps in practice, just like Nate. But, Nate's done a great job in practice. I thought Nate did some good things when he got into the game. We just can't turn the football over.
Coach, now that you watched film, can you comment on Ethan Will's play and how nice it was to have him back out
Yeah.
on the field?
Ethan brings a whole nother dynamic to our offense. And he's another individual. You can see the growth, the maturation, and the confidence building week in and week out. And I thought he made some great plays with the ball in the air, did some good things blocking. Now he just needs to continue to develop, getting in the weight room. These young kids, they have a full academic workload. They're going through a season, and they need to continue to develop their bodies. And, he's kind of going through an off-season strength and conditioning program as well, as he needs to continue to develop that strength and continue to put weight on his frame as well. But he's done an exceptional job to date. Again, it's when we talk about the differences in teams and will this team bounce back, now he got the lecture from me because last Wednesday I get a text message at 1:23 in the morning, and it's like, Coach, the tight ends dropped the ball too much in practice. We'll have a better practice. So his lecture was, you better get to bed and get your rest. But on the other hand, that's the investment. That's the importance that this football team has. They evaluate every rep. They're very conscious of every rep, and they want to win every rep. And I like that.
You're pretty close to 50-50 on rushing attempts and passing attempts so far this season. What kind of ratio are you kind of shooting for in terms of runs versus passes?
Well, we want great balance. And like I said a couple weeks ago, first down is the only mystery down. And we want to be 50-50 run to pass on first down. A lot of the other situations dictate by distance, but we take great pride in being a balanced offense.
Coach, I know a lot of this happened before you got here, but is it hard to believe that Florida's won 9 straight in a row against us?
I can't speak of the past. All I know is the present, and Team 118 controls that this week. And so, the great thing is most of our football team hasn't even been here for those games. So I can't comment on what's gone on in the past. All I know is we have to control what we can control.
How many times since you took over the program has somebody talked to you about how important it is to beat Florida?
Numerous.
Coach, at wide receiver, with your injuries there against Georgia, how much did they really kind of focus on Marquette, did you feel like?
Well, anytime you take Josh Smith and Von Pearson out of your offense, it sets you back. We have very capable players. We have a little bit of depth, but not as much depth as everyone recruits against us at the wide receiver position, and we need more depth. But anytime you take Josh Smith and Von Pearson out of your offense, you're going to suffer because they're talented players, and we really missed their presence Saturday. And to play the volume of repetitions that we want to play at the tempo we want to play, the old school days of 21 personnel and huddle and your wideouts take all the reps, that doesn't happen. You need to continue to put individuals in. And we didn't have that luxury in the Georgia game, and I thought that hurt us a little bit. But, it's another individual's opportunity. Jason Kroom stepped up and made some big-time plays for us at critical stages of the game. Josh Malone had 5 catches, did a great job at catch and advance. So we had individuals step up in their presence, but it's going to be great at some point to get them back.
What's your impression at this point of Kurt Magid and just how he's played coming back from an off year where he couldn't play?
We thought Kurt Magid played his best game of the year last week. You know, he played more Sam linebacker. He was a 9 technique. Thought he really did some great things. He was extremely productive. You know, when we talk about impactful plays, he had a lot of those. So it was really the first game where we could really feel his presence on the football field, and he's done a great job of keeping his body rested, and he's one of those individuals who's benefiting from not playing the 70, 80, 90 snaps. We still have way too many players on our defensive side of the ball playing in the 80 to 90 snap range when you put defense and special teams together. And for us to win football games down the stretch, we need more individuals to step up and provide some depth and stability at all the other positions. But I thought Kurt performed the best since we've been here.
Why do you think that is? Was he adjusted? Is he rusty from sitting out a year? Do you think it's adjusting to his role?
I think the flow of the game dictated it. I think the style of the game. Every game is different. You know, the style of play, the matchups. Football is a game of one-on-one matchups. And some games, they're good matchups for certain individuals. Other games present challenging matchups for individuals, just with their style of play, the personnel, the formations, the scheme, all that. And it was a game that I thought Kurt matched up exceptionally well. He gained great confidence, and we're going to need much more from him in moving forward.
Butch, how do you get, with Dylan being out, how do you get some relief for Jalen Ringo with all the snaps he's playing? Is there anybody in line?
Yeah, good question. Cortez McDowell is a young man who continues to progress. He's kind of found the progression of Jalen last year, where he continues to get better and better and better in his football intelligence. Every special teams play, he'd come up to me and tell me exactly what he saw and what was going on. And we talk about live the game. You know, we talk about really the mental part of it is work the game, work it mentally every day, you know, even in practice. And there's some individuals that play the game, but they can't really tell you what happened when they came to the sideline, where he's able to tell you everything. So he's an individual that needs to step up now at linebacker. Jakob Johnson's in the same predicament. We're going to demand more from him at the linebacker position as well.
Despite 2 straight losses, Saturday's game is another sellout. I saw you tweet about the Checker Nealon initiative.
Yeah.
Can you comment on that and the support that you're getting?
Well, the support has been outstanding, and that support has been there since December 7th, I believe it was, a couple years ago. And our fans are incredible. I work every day for them in representing Tennessee because they are so special and it means so much to them. And to have a fan initiative of Checkerboard and Nealon, I think it speaks volumes. You know, most places they have to manufacture that, where our fans come out and it's on them. And I'm excited. And they have created so much positive energy and excitement surrounding our football program. Our players are feeding off of it. Our recruits are feeding off of it. Our community's feeding off of it. The state of Tennessee's feeding off of it. And it's great. And so they've been extremely supportive. And Saturday afternoon at noon should be a great, great college football environment. Should be the best environment in the country.
Coach, what are some things that your coaching staff has to do a little bit differently within your coaching staff? What do you guys have to do as coaches to get better as coaches?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just making sure we're putting our players in positions to succeed, to have success, and it starts up front. If it's more sprint outs, if it max protection, is it chips, is it changing a run scheme, is it some wham plays, you know, trying to alleviate some stress and pressure off the offensive line, which is a challenge in and of itself. You know, from our coverages to our different blitz schemes, trying to, again, create one-on-one matchups, you know, just trying to put our players in positions where they can succeed. And the same thing in special teams game. And it's continued to develop them as future fathers, future husbands, future leaders, but also football players, the fundamentals, the fine details, you know, understanding the difference between winning and losing. It's a whole deal. It's a whole conglomeration of a lot of little things. The little things add up to great things, and we take great pride in that. And so the first thing I do is I evaluate myself. You know, what could I have done better? I have a journal, after every day, before I go to sleep, if I had the day to do over again, what would I have done different? What could I have done better? Did we do everything possible in that day to make us a better football team, a better football program? And we self-evaluate ourselves each and every day as a coaching staff, as individual coaches, and as leaders and mentors. And we do that every day. We talk about it in our staff meeting every day, and we take great pride in that. And I think if you look at our body of work over a number of years together as a coaching staff, I think if you talk to our former players, I think if you talk to all our former players coming back, Juwan James this morning, got a text message from him. Can't wait to see a coach, talking about the grind of an NFL rookie, the season he's going through. Dan Lefevre, our quarterback at Central Michigan, will be on the sidelines for the Tennessee game. Zach Caleros, who's starting in Canada, he sends me a text, will you send me a Butch Please t-shirt so I can wear it in my press conference? Those are all things, that are very, very important. Travis Kelce, he scored his first touchdown a couple weeks ago. He calls me, hey, thanks, Coach. All those little things of making a difference, it goes beyond the game of football. And we take great pride in that as a coaching staff because that means everything to us.
Which, AJ had a great game tackle-wise, 17 tackles. That's a really high number. Was it a great game for him?
John, that's a great illustration of what we talked about, the impactful plays. Very, very productive game for AJ. AJ's typical productiveness. But there was times where I think his competitiveness of wanting to do too much and playing outside the defense got us into trouble at times. And that's just AJ. AJ wants to do everything, which I love. He wants to be on punt return. He wants to be on kickoff. He wants to impact the game on every single snap. Sometimes being a great football player is constantly understanding the scheme. Let the scheme work for you. Let the 3 technique work for you. Let the 1 technique work for you. There's a couple times in our run fits where our linebackers got overlapped and we were a gap short. And again, we'll continue to work on that. I'd rather say woe than sick 'em. And so AJ continues to provide stability to our defense, continues to make plays, but again, sometimes we got to slow them down as well.
Both teams coming off conference losses with the East Division seeming as wide open as it seems at the moment. Just how much of a crossroads game is this for both you and Florida?
It's all I can speak on for us. It's the most important game because it's the next game. And that's the way we look at it. We have a long football season to go. And the teams that don't have success throughout a course of a long football season are very emotional. They're up for one game, they're down for this game. They're up for this game, they're down for this game. We just want an even keel football team that takes pride in getting themselves mentally and physically ready to play. Psychologically, physically, and everything that goes into it. So this is an important game because it's the next game. It's a divisional game as well, and it's a rivalry game, and that's very important to us as well. But we have a lot of football left to be played, and you can't put any more premium on one game than another. Young football teams do that. Young football teams spark ups and downs. And our football team has not done that to this point. They've had an even keel. I've liked their approach. They've been effective in their mindset each and every week. And that's a tribute to our older players, but also to the younger players, but also to the coaching staff. There's so much that goes into it, of preparing a football team week in and week out. We've had very few substitution issues. We're still doing a great job penalty-wise, and those are all things when you have a young football team, an immature football team that really expose themselves. And to date, our players have done a great job of that. Now, obviously, another great opponent in here on Saturday. But no one game is bigger than the next.
Thanks, guys, very much.